Corey's graduation trip to Italy costs $8,700. Your mother and I are covering $5,800. You and Nora need to split the rest. Send $2,900 by Thursday. Family supports family, Christy. I stared at my phone, reading my father's text message for the fourth time. My hands trembled as I gripped the device, sitting at my small kitchen table in my Portland apartment. The audacity was staggering. Not a request, not even a please, just a demand wrapped in guilt and delivered with the casual expectation that I'd comply like I always had. My name is Christy Rankin. I'm 31 years old, and I'm a nurse practitioner at Oregon Health and Science University. I work double shifts 3 times a week to support my 7-year-old son, Ethan, and myself in this expensive city. Every dollar matters when you're a single mother trying to build a stable life from scratch. Mom, look, I made a spaceship. Ethan called from the living room floor, his dark hair falling into his eyes as he concentrated on his Lego creation. His innocent joy was a stark contrast to the rage building in my chest. $2,900, nearly 3 weeks of my salary after taxes. Money I'd been saving for Ethan's summer camp, for his school supplies, for the security deposit on a better apartment in a safer neighborhood. Money my father expected me to hand over, without question, for my brother's European vacation. The text had arrived exactly 5 days after my family had completely ghosted Ethan's 7th birthday party. 5 days since I'd watched my son's face crumble as he realized his grandparents, uncle and aunt, weren't coming. 5 days since he'd asked me, voice-breaking, if he'd done something wrong. But here was my father, Jonathan Favela, acting like nothing had happened, like he hadn't broken his grandson's heart, like he had every right to demand thousands of dollars from the daughter he'd ignored for a week. I scrolled up through our text history. The last message before today's demand was from me, sent the morning of Ethan's party. Can't wait to see you all at 2 p.m. Ethan has been practicing his dinosaur facts to share with Grandpa. Read at 9:47 a.m. No response. My chest tightened as I remembered that day. The dinosaur-themed decorations I'd stayed up until midnight, hanging. The custom cake that cost me a week's worth of groceries. Ethan in his little paleontologist costume, checking the window every 10 minutes. Are they here yet, Mom? I want to show Grandpa my fossil collection. They never came. Not one of them. No call, no text, no explanation. And now this. A casual demand for nearly $3,000, delivered with the same tone he'd use to ask me to pass the salt. The same man who'd given my brother Corey a brand new car for his 18th birthday, while I got a $50 gift card to Target. The same man who'd paid for Corey's entire college tuition while I'd graduated nursing school, drowning in student loans. Family supports family, Christy. The hypocrisy made my stomach turn. When had my family ever supported me? When I was pregnant and scared at 23, working 2 jobs to afford prenatal care, when Ethan's father disappeared before he was born, when I was studying for my nurse practitioner boards while raising a toddler alone. I looked at my beautiful son, completely absorbed in his Legos, trusting that his mom would handle whatever adult problems were swirling around him. He deserved better than a family who treated him like an afterthought. He deserved better than watching his mother beg for scraps of affection from people who saw us as nothing more than a convenient ATM. Something cold and sharp crystallized in my chest, a decision forming that would change everything. I opened my banking app and stared at the transfer screen. My father expected $2,900 by Thursday. He was going to get exactly what he deserved. If you've ever felt like the family scapegoat who's expected to give everything while getting nothing back. You'll understand what I did next, because what happens when you finally stop playing by their rules will shock you. Let me take you back to 8 weeks before that text message. 8 weeks before my world shifted on its axis. It was March 15th when I sent the invitations for Ethan's 7th birthday party. Not digital invites, actual paper invitations that Ethan had helped me design, complete with dinosaur stickers and his careful 7-year-old handwriting. Please come celebrate with me. I'd mailed them to my parents, Jonathan and Marilyn, my brother Corey, and my sister Nora, giving everyone plenty of notice for May 10th. The theme was paleontology, Ethan's current obsession. For months, he'd been devouring every dinosaur book, documentary, and museum exhibit he could find. I'd saved for 4 months to buy him a real microscope for his birthday, skipping lunches and coffee runs, putting aside every spare dollar. The joy on his face when he unwrapped it early so we could use it for the party was worth every sacrifice. "Mom, look, I can see the crystals in this rock," he'd squealed, adjusting the microscope lens with the precision of a tiny scientist. "I can't wait to show Grandpa Jonathan. He's going to think this is so cool." For 3 weeks leading up to the party, Ethan practiced his fossil presentation. He'd arranged his rock collection on his bedroom dresser, memorizing facts about each specimen, sedimentary versus igneous, how fossils formed over millions of years, the difference between a trilobite and an ammonite. "Grandpa's going to be so proud of how smart I am," he'd tell me every night at bedtime. "Do you think he'll want to take some rocks home to study too?" My heart broke a little each time, knowing my father's attention span for Ethan's interests typically lasted about 5 minutes. But I encouraged him anyway, because his excitement was pure and beautiful, and I couldn't bear to dim it. I'd called each family member personally to confirm attendance. My mother, Marilyn, "Of course we'll be there, honey. Jonathan's already cleared his golf schedule." My brother Corey, "Wouldn't miss it. The little dude's getting so big." My sister Nora, "I'm bringing my camera. Ethan's going to love the surprise I got him." I'd rented a dinosaur-themed bounce house for $200 I couldn't really afford, ordered a custom cake shaped like a T-Rex from the fancy bakery downtown. Another $150 that meant eating ramen for 2 weeks. I'd decorated our small backyard with fossil dig stations, complete with sandbox excavation sites, where kids could hunt for plastic dinosaur bones. The morning of May 10th, I woke up at 6 a.m. to finish preparations. Ethan bounced out of bed at 6:30, already dressed in his paleontologist costume, khaki vest, safari hat, and the magnifying glass I'd found at a thrift store. "Is it time yet? Are they coming soon?" he asked, every 10 minutes while I hung streamers and set up the fossil dig stations. At 11 a.m., I sent a group text to my family. "Can't wait to see you all at 2 p.m. Ethan has been practicing his dinosaur facts to share with Grandpa." The responses came quickly. Jonathan, "Looking forward to it." Marilyn, "See you soon, sweetheart." Corey, "On my way." Nora, "Can't wait." I screenshot that group chat, feeling warm and grateful. Finally, a birthday where everyone would show up. Finally, Ethan would have his whole family there to celebrate him. At 1:45 p.m., Ethan positioned himself by the living room window, his fossil collection arranged on the coffee table. Microscope at the ready. "They'll be here any minute, Mom. Should I start with the trilobite or the geode?" "Start with whichever one makes you happiest, baby." 2 p.m. came and went. Ethan's friends from school started arriving with their parents, filling our small space with laughter and chaos. But the 4 chairs I'd reserved at the head table, marked with handwritten place cards, reading, "Grandpa, Grandma, Uncle Corey, and Aunt Nora remained empty. "Maybe they're just running late," Ethan said at 2:15, pressing his face against the window glass. "Traffic is probably really bad." I called my mother. Straight to voicemail. I called my father. Voicemail. I texted the group chat. "Everything okay?" Party started. Read receipts showed they'd all seen it. No responses. By 2:30, other parents were asking about the missing grandparents. "Oh, they're running a bit behind," I lied, my cheeks burning with embarrassment. "You know how it is." Ethan kept checking the driveway, his excitement slowly morphing into confusion, then worry. At 3:00 p.m., he came to me with tears in his eyes. "Mom, did I do something wrong when I called Grandpa last week? Maybe my fossil collection is boring. Maybe they don't want to hear about rocks?" I knelt down to his level, fighting my own tears. "Baby, you are brilliant and amazing. Your fossil collection is incredible, and anyone would be lucky to hear you talk about it. This isn't about you at all. But how do you explain to a 7-year-old that his family simply doesn't prioritize him? How do you tell a child that the adults who should love him unconditionally have decided he's not worth their time?" The party continued around us. Kids bounced in the dinosaur bounce house, dug for fossils in the sandbox, devoured T-Rex cake. Ethan participated, but I could see the light had gone out of his eyes. He kept glancing at those empty chairs, at the fossil presentation he'd prepared that no one would see. At 4:00 p.m., my sister Nora finally texted, "Sorry, something came up. Tell Ethan happy birthday from us." Something came up. 7 words to dismiss weeks of my son's excitement, months of my planning, and a lifetime of his hope that his family actually cared about him. I took photos throughout the party. Evidence I didn't know I'd need later. Ethan in his paleontologist costume, looking small and lost. The empty chairs with their hopeful place cards. The untouched fossil display he'd spent weeks perfecting. The timestamp on each photo told the story. 2:00 p.m., 2:30 p.m., 3:00 p.m., 3:30 p.m. A visual record of abandonment. This wasn't the first time. Last year, they'd missed Ethan's 6th birthday because Corey needed help apartment hunting for college. The year before that, they'd left his 5th birthday party after 20 minutes because Nora claimed to have an anxiety attack at the mall and needed immediate rescue. Every year, there was an excuse. Every year, Ethan's needs came second to my siblings' wants. Every year, I made excuses and tried to protect his feelings while my family showed him exactly where he ranked in their priorities. After the last guest left and I was cleaning up wrapping paper and cake crumbs, Ethan sat on the couch holding his new microscope, staring at those empty chairs. "Mom," his voice was so small, "do you think they'll remember next year?" I pulled him into my arms, breathing in his little boy smell of sugar and sunshine. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I promise you this. You will always have people who show up for you, people who think you're the most important person in the world. I just didn't know yet that those people wouldn't be his blood relatives." Sitting at my kitchen table, staring at my father's demand for $2,900, something clicked into place. Not anger. That would come later. This was colder, sharper, clarity. I opened my laptop and pulled up my banking app, then created a new spreadsheet. If Jonathan wanted to talk about family supporting family, let's see what the numbers actually looked like. Row by row, I documented every transfer I'd made to my family over the past 5 years. The data painted a picture I'd been too desperate to see clearly. Corey's car insurance when he crashed his Honda junior year, $1,200. My parents' 30th anniversary cruise, when Dad's business was slow, $2,500. Nora's credit card debt from her shopping addiction phase, $3,800. Corey's spring break trip to Cancun, $1,500. Emergency dental work for mom when she couldn't afford it, $900. Corey's graduation party venue deposit, $1,200. Nora's apartment security deposit, $1,800. Dad's golf club membership renewal, $2,100. Corey's textbooks every semester, $1,400. Nora's car repairs, $800. Family Christmas gifts I bought for everyone else to give, $1,200. The list went on, and on, and on. Total given to family in 5 years, $18,200. Now for what they'd given me. This calculation took exactly 30 seconds. Ethan's birthday gifts they'd promised, but forgotten to bring, $0. Help with my nursing school expenses, $0. Support during my difficult pregnancy, $0. Assistance when Ethan's father abandoned us, $0. Contribution to Ethan's medical bills when he broke his arm, $0. Help with childcare during my board exams, $0. Wait, there was something. Last Christmas, Mom had given me a $50 Starbucks gift card. And 2 years ago, Dad had handed me $150 cash for Ethan's birthday, which I later discovered he'd taken from the money I'd given him the week before for Corey's car payment. Total received from family in 5 years, $200. I stared at the numbers. $18,200 given, $200 received. A ratio so lopsided, it would be laughable if it weren't devastating. But the money was just the surface. I opened the journal I'd been keeping since starting therapy 6 months ago. Another secret I'd kept from my family, knowing they'd mock my need for professional help with simple family issues. Page after page of documented interactions. March 15th, called Dad to invite him to Ethan's party. He spent 20 minutes complaining about Corey's grades, asked if I could help out with tutoring costs. When I mentioned Ethan's excitement about showing him his fossil collection, Dad said, "That's nice, honey," and changed the subject back to Corey. April 2nd, Nora called crying about her boyfriend. Talked for 2 hours about her relationship drama. When I tried to share that Ethan had won the science fair, she said, "That's great," and immediately returned to her problems. April 20th, Mom called asking if I could cover Corey's car payment because money's tight. When I mentioned I was saving for Ethan's summer camp, she said, "He's only 7. He won't remember if he misses one summer." The pattern was undeniable. I was the family ATM, the emotional dumping ground, the reliable one who never needed anything because I had it all together. Meanwhile, my son, their grandson, their nephew, was an afterthought at best. I'd been so busy trying to earn their love. I'd forgotten to protect the person who already loved me unconditionally. My phone buzzed with another text from Jonathan. "Christy, I need confirmation you received my message about Corey's trip. Time is running out to book flights." The audacity was breathtaking. 5 days after breaking his grandson's heart, he was following up on his money demand like a bill collector. I thought about Ethan, asleep in his room, surrounded by the fossils no one had cared to see. I thought about the microscope I'd sacrificed for, the birthday party they'd abandoned, the years of hope slowly crushed under the weight of their indifference. Then I thought about something else, something I'd been quietly working on for months, my emergency fund, the account I'd been building in secret, skipping meals and coffee runs, working extra shifts, saving every spare dollar for Ethan's future, for his college fund, for emergencies, for the security his father's absence had stolen from us. That fund currently held $8,400. Money I'd earned through exhaustion and sacrifice. Money that represented our future, our stability, our independence. My father wanted $2,900 of it for Corey's Italian vacation. I opened my banking app and navigated to the transfer screen. In the recipient field, I typed my father's information. In the amount field, I paused. $2,900 would wipe out more than a third of everything I'd saved for Ethan's future. It would fund gelato and gondola rides for my brother, while my son ate generic cereal because name brands were too expensive. I deleted the amount and typed a new number, $1. In the memo field, I wrote, "For Corey's gelato." My finger hovered over the send button. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about dignity, about teaching my son that love isn't something you purchase with your last dollar, about showing him that his mother wouldn't bankrupt his future to fund other people's luxuries. This was about finally choosing us. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The confirmation screen glowed. Transfer complete. $1 sent to Jonathan Favela. My phone buzzed immediately. 3 dots appeared in our text thread, disappeared, appeared again. My father was typing. The dots vanished and reappeared 4 times, a digital representation of his shock, his rage, his scrambling for the right words to put me back in my place. I watched those dots dance and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Power. For the first time in my adult life, I'd said no to Jonathan Favela. I'd chosen my son over his demands. I'd chosen our future over their expectations. My phone finally buzzed with his response, and I knew my life was about to change forever. My phone rang at 6:47 a.m. the next morning. Jonathan's name flashed on the screen, and I knew the storm had arrived. "What the hell is wrong with you?" His voice exploded through the speaker before I could even say hello. $1? $1? Are you out of your goddamn mind? I pulled the phone away from my ear. Jonathan's rage so loud it could wake Ethan down the hall. I stepped onto my small balcony and closed the sliding door behind me. "Good morning to you too, Dad. Don't you dare take that tone with me. I asked you for help with your brother's graduation trip, and you send me $1 like some kind of joke? Like I'm a beggar on the street." "I sent what I could afford," I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. "Just like you sent what you could afford to Ethan's birthday party." Silence. Then, "That's completely different. We had a family emergency." "What emergency?" Nora texted, "Something came up." "That's not an emergency. That's a choice. You don't understand the complexities of adult responsibilities, Christy. Corey's future is at stake here. This trip is networking. It's educational. And Ethan's birthday was what? Optional? Your son will have plenty of birthdays. This is Corey's one chance to—" "Stop." The word came out sharper than I intended. Just stop. I've heard this speech before. Corey's needs always come first. Nora's crisis always takes priority. And Ethan and I are expected to fund it all while getting nothing in return. Nothing in return? We're your family. We love you. Love isn't a bank transfer, Dad. And it's not showing up when you need money and disappearing when we need you. His breathing was heavy on the other end. When he spoke again, his voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You're making a big mistake, Christy. Family is all you have in this world. You keep this up, you're going to find yourself very alone. I'm already alone. The difference is, now I'm choosing it. I'm coming over. We're going to settle this face to face." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my heart hammering. That wasn't a request. It was a threat. I called my best friend, Lori Walters, a fellow nurse practitioner who'd been my anchor through every family crisis for the past 5 years. "He's coming over," I said without preamble when she answered. "Jonathan, when? Now? Soon? I don't know." "Lori," he was furious, like scary furious. "I'm coming over too. Don't let him in, Christy. You don't owe him access to your home." After hanging up, I did something I'd been considering for months, but never had the courage to follow through on. I called a locksmith. "How quickly can you change the locks on my apartment?" I asked. "Emergency service? I can be there in 2 hours. Make it 1 hour, I'll pay the rush fee." By the time Jonathan's silver BMW pulled into my parking lot at 10:30 a.m., my locks had been changed, and Lori was sitting at my kitchen table, a witness to whatever was about to unfold. The knock on my door wasn't just Jonathan. Through the peephole, I saw my entire family. My parents, Corey, Nora, and even Nora's boyfriend, Brett Murdoch, who looked deeply uncomfortable to be there. "Christy, open this door right now," Jonathan commanded. "We need to talk." "We can talk through the door," I called back. "Don't be ridiculous. Let us in." "No," I heard murmuring. Then my mother's voice, sweet and manipulative. "Sweetheart, we're family. We love you. We just want to work this out. Where was that love 5 days ago when Ethan was waiting for you?" "Honey, we explained," Marilyn started. "No, you didn't." Nora sent a 7-word text. "That's not an explanation." Jonathan's voice boomed. "Open this door, Christy, or I'm opening it myself." "With what key?" I asked. Silence. Then the sound of a key being inserted into the lock. Jiggling. More aggressive jiggling. A frustrated curse. "What did you do?" Jonathan's voice was deadly quiet. "I changed the locks. This is my apartment, and you're not welcome here." "You can't keep us from our grandson," Nora shouted. "Ethan needs his family." "He needed his family 5 days ago. You chose not to be there." "We're here now," Corey's voice, the first time he'd spoken. "Come on, Christy. Don't be like this. We're trying to make things right." By demanding money? That's making things right? The pounding started then. Fists on my door, rattling the frame. "You're poisoning that boy against his family," Jonathan screamed. "We have rights, grandparent rights. You had the right to show up for his birthday." I called back, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "You chose not to exercise it?" Lori squeezed my hand. "Call the police," she whispered. I dialed I-911. "I need officers at my apartment. My family is trespassing and won't leave when asked." The pounding continued for another 10 minutes until 2 Portland police officers arrived. Through my Ring doorbell camera, I watched my family transform from aggressive to victimized in seconds. "Officers, thank goodness," Marilyn said, tears instantly flowing. "Our daughter has locked us out. We're just trying to see our grandson." "Ma'am," Officer Martinez addressed me through the door. "Can you come out and talk to us?" I opened the door, staying in the threshold. These people showed up uninvited and are refusing to leave when asked. I want them trespassed from the property. "Christy, please." Brett spoke for the first time. His voice, gentle. "Can we just talk? 5 minutes?" I looked at him. Really looked. Unlike the others, Brett's eyes held genuine concern, not manipulation. He was the only one who'd never asked me for money, never dismissed Ethan, never made me feel small. 5 minutes, I said. "Just you. Everyone else leaves now." After the police escorted my family away, and Brett had quietly apologized for their behavior, I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. 3 days later, I was at work when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Ms. Rankin, this is Van Richards with Child Protective Services. I need to schedule a home visit to discuss some concerns that have been brought to our attention." My blood turned to ice. What kind of concerns? I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Are you available this afternoon? Yes. Can you tell me who made the report? That information is confidential, but I can tell you the allegations involve potential neglect and isolation of your minor child. I knew, even before Van Richards arrived at my apartment 2 hours later, I knew exactly who had made that call. Van was a tall, thin man in his 50s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. He looked around my clean, child-proofed apartment, noting the educational toys, the art supplies, the bookshelf full of age-appropriate books. Ms. Rankin, I'm going to be direct with you. Someone called our hotline claiming you're mentally unstable and isolating your son from his family. They said you're keeping him from his grandparents out of spite and that he's showing signs of emotional distress. And what do you think? I asked. Van smiled slightly. I think someone's very angry that you set boundaries. Your son is clearly well cared for. Your home is safe and nurturing. And frankly, your documentation of your family's behavior suggests you're the responsible party here. I'd shown him everything. The birthday party photos, the bank statements, the text threads, the police report from 3 days ago. This appears to be a retaliatory report, Van continued. We see this sometimes when family members don't get their way. I'm going to close this case as unfounded, but I want you to know, if they call again, we'll have this visit on record. After Van left, I sat in my living room, feeling violated. They'd weaponized the system designed to protect children, using it to punish me for saying no. My phone buzzed with a text from Brett. Can we talk? It's important. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. Brett looked exhausted, conflicted. I can't be part of this anymore, he said, without preamble. What your dad did, calling CPS, that's not okay. It was him? He's been planning it since the day you changed the locks. He thinks if he can prove you're unfit, he can get custody of Ethan and use him as leverage to control you. My hands started shaking. Custody? He's got some lawyer friend helping him. Says he's going to file for grandparent rights. Claim you're alienating Ethan from his family. Brett leaned forward. Christy, he's dead serious about this. He thinks he can take your son. That night, after Ethan was asleep, I sat in the dark, processing Brett's warning. My father wasn't just angry about the money. He was escalating to the nuclear option. He wanted to take my child. My phone lit up with a text from Brett at 11:47 p.m. Your dad just left our house. He's got some lawyer friend helping him. Says he's going to get custody of Ethan, since you're clearly unfit. Christy, he's dead serious. I stared at my phone in the darkness, my sleeping son just down the hall, and realized this wasn't just about boundaries anymore. This was war. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had family members weaponize authorities against you when you set boundaries? Because what my father did next crossed every line imaginable. The Multnomah County Family Court felt like a fortress as I walked through its doors on June 15th. My attorney, Sarah Chen, had prepared me, but nothing readied me for seeing Jonathan at the plaintiff's table in his navy suit, playing the concerned grandfather. Let the evidence speak, Sarah whispered as we sat down. Don't let him bait you. Jonathan's attorney, David Hoffman, stood first. Your Honor, my client, Jonathan Favela, is a loving grandfather, systematically denied access to his 7-year-old grandson by an increasingly unstable daughter. Ms. Rankin has changed locks, called police on family, and refused reconciliation attempts. This child needs his grandfather's stability. Judge Patricia Williams, stern with sharp eyes, listened without expression. When Hoffman finished, Sarah stood with her thick evidence folder. Your Honor, the evidence shows Mr. Favela's petition isn't about love. It's about control and retaliation against a mother who finally said no to financial exploitation. Sarah opened her systematic destruction of Jonathan's narrative. Exhibit A, 47 family events. Mr. Favela missed over 5 years, including birthdays, school performances, medical appointments. Compare this to 3 family events Ms. Rankin funded, totaling $18,000. Judge Williams studied the timeline, eyebrows rising. Exhibit B, bank records showing the financial relationship. $18,200 from Ms. Rankin to family. Total received, $200. Hoffman objected. Family financial arrangements are private. Overruled, Judge Williams said curtly. When someone seeks custody claiming instability, their behavior becomes relevant. Exhibit C, Ring doorbell footage from May 15th. The courtroom fell silent as footage played. Jonathan's voice boomed. "You're poisoning that boy against his family. We have rights." The pounding, threats, transformation when police arrived. All in high definition. Judge Williams' jaw tightened at Jonathan's screaming about rights. Exhibit D, police report documenting trespassing. Exhibit E, the retaliatory CPS report Mr. Favela filed, determined unfounded. CPS investigator Van Richards testified, "In 15 years, I've rarely seen more obvious malicious reporting." Ms. Rankin's home was immaculate, her son healthy and happy. The allegations were clearly retaliatory. Ethan's teacher testified he was well-adjusted and never mentioned his grandfather. His pediatrician praised my attentive parenting. Lori testified about my sacrifices and devotion. During cross-examination, Sarah surgically dismantled Jonathan's credibility. "Mr. Favela, when did you last attend Ethan's birthday party?" "We had scheduling conflicts." "What date, sir?" Jonathan fumbled. "I don't recall." "You haven't attended one in 3 years, correct?" "We've had emergencies." "What emergency prevented attendance on May 10th? Silence. "You confirmed attendance that morning, then didn't show or call?" "Something came up." "What came up?" More silence. 3 days after missing his birthday, you demanded $2,900 for your son's vacation. Do you see how that prioritizes your adult son over your grandson? "Family supports family," Jonathan said weakly. "How much support have you provided Miss Rankin in 5 years?" "We've helped when we could." "Bank records show $200 total, correct?" Jonathan's face reddened. "Money isn't everything." "You're right. Showing up is everything. And you haven't, have you?" Sarah presented phone records showing Jonathan only called when needing money. Text threads revealed demands and threats. Medical records proved Ethan's excellent health and development. "Your Honor," Sarah concluded, "Mr. Favela claims to love his grandson while missing every important moment in his life. He demands thousands from a single mother while contributing nothing. He weaponizes CPS when told no. This isn't love. It's control." Judge Williams had heard enough. Without recessing, she delivered her verdict. "Mr. Favela, you're asking for custody of a child whose birthday you missed, while demanding his mother fund your other son's vacation. Do you see the contradiction?" Hoffman stood. "Your Honor, families have disagreements." "This isn't a disagreement," Judge Williams interrupted. "This is exploitation with harassment. Your petition is denied and frivolous. Ms. Rankin, I'm granting a 2-year restraining order against Mr. Favela." The gavel fell with finality. Jonathan's face went white, then purple. "This is ridiculous. She's my daughter. That's my grandson. Mr. Favela, one more outburst means contempt. Your courtroom behavior confirms this restraining order's necessity." The bailiff stepped forward as Jonathan's lawyer grabbed his arm, whispering urgently, Jonathan sat down, seething, but silent. Judge Williams continued, "Mr. Favela, you've shown a pattern of financial exploitation, emotional manipulation, and harassment. You've weaponized government agencies against a devoted mother. You've prioritized adult children's wants over your grandson's needs consistently. This court finds your petition not only without merit, but potentially harmful to the child's well-being." She turned to me. "Ms. Rankin, your documentation is exemplary. Your son is fortunate to have such a protective, devoted mother. The restraining order includes no contact with your son at school, home, or any location. Violations will result in immediate arrest." Leaving the courthouse, Sarah squeezed my shoulder. "Most one-sided custody hearing I've witnessed. Your documentation saved the day." I looked back at Jonathan on the courthouse steps, his face masked with fury and disbelief. For the first time, Jonathan Favela had been told no by an authority he couldn't manipulate or control. It felt like freedom. 6 months after the courthouse victory, the consequences were still unfolding. Jonathan violated the restraining order twice, showing up at Ethan's school and calling my workplace. Both earned him contempt charges and jail time. His country club reputation crumbled when the custody battle became public knowledge. Legal fees forced him to sell his boat. Marilyn, unemployed for 30 years, took a retail job at Nordstrom when their finances collapsed without my contributions. Her social circle distanced themselves after learning the truth about their treatment of Ethan. Corey's Italian graduation trip was canceled. Without my $2,900 in family resources tied up in legal costs, he settled for a Seattle weekend. He applied for student loans and got his first job. Actual responsibility was shocking. Nora cut contact with our parents entirely. Her relationship with Brett strengthened as she recognized our family's toxicity. "I never realized how messed up it was until they tried taking Ethan," she admitted. "Ethan and I thrived. Without constant family drama, I earned a promotion to senior nurse practitioner. Ethan's confidence bloomed without the hope-disappointment cycle that had defined his early years. Lori became Aunt Lori. Her children, Ethan's chosen cousins. We created new traditions with people who actually showed up. Mom," Ethan said while building Legos, "I'm glad we don't wait for people who don't come anymore. Aunt Lori always shows up." "That's right, baby. We only make room for people who make room for us." My savings grew without family emergencies, draining it. I started therapy, learning about narcissistic family systems. Choosing peace over people-pleasing wasn't selfish. It was survival. Ethan's 8th birthday party had no empty chairs. Everyone celebrated genuinely, stayed present, brought gifts they remembered. We were finally where we belonged. 1 year later, I stood in my backyard, watching Ethan blow out 8 candles, surrounded by people who genuinely loved him. Lori and her kids, his teacher Mrs. Rodriguez, our neighbors the Johnsons, his best friend Marcus, and his parents. Every chair filled with someone who'd chosen to be there. No empty spaces, no broken promises, no little boy pressing his face against windows, waiting for people who would never come. "Make a wish, buddy," I called out, my heart full in a way I'd forgotten was possible. Ethan closed his eyes tight, then opened them with a grin. "I wished for next year to be just like this, with all the people who really love me." That night, after everyone had gone home and Ethan was asleep, clutching his new dinosaur book, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. I'd spent 31 years trying to buy my family's love with money I couldn't afford and loyalty they never deserved. I'd taught my son that love meant waiting, hoping, and accepting crumbs. I'd modeled people-pleasing as a survival strategy. The day I sent that $1, I bought something much more valuable than Corey's gelato money. I bought our self-respect. I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is remove toxic people from your life. Children deserve adults who show up consistently, not just when convenient. Financial manipulation is emotional abuse disguised as family obligation. You can't earn love from people who see you as an ATM. Our home transformed from a stress-filled waiting room for family crumbs into a sanctuary where we created our own joy. If this story inspired you to examine your own family dynamics, I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting your children? Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is disappoint people who were never really there for you anyway. The most expensive thing you can give toxic family members is access to your peace and your children's emotional well-being. Sometimes a $1 payment is worth $1 million in freedom.